Hey guys, so I wanted to talk a little bit about this article in the Daily Meal. I'm not familiar with this site, but the article is called The 5 Worst Things About My New Vegan Diet 12 Days In, written by Jeremy Rose. I'm succeeding at Veganuary so far, but it's not quite a cinch. So the main one that I wanted to talk about was his number 4. This would be easier if I had more time or more money. Depending how you go about it, vegan treats can get pricey. It's been pointed out that there's an uncomfortable overlap between veganism and privilege, and things like fake meats and vegan convenience foods tend to be designed for the well-heeled, set, and priced accordingly. It's hard to find a $1 slice of vegan pizza, but a number of places will happily sell you one for $5. The best way to deal with this, since I love cooking, would be to do some smart grocery shopping and lots of meal prep, but these things take time that I can't always find in between my full-time job and my active creative and social lives. If I were a well-behaved person who went to bed on time and kept a tidy schedule, this wouldn't be too tough. But I'm actually a naughty person who doesn't do those things, so it's a struggle. And this is why I'm uncomfortable with saying that it's easy to go vegan, and it's why I refrain from doing that. Yes, there are tons of vegan convenience foods, but they are often pricey. And yes, you can make cheap vegan food at home, but that requires time. And even if money is not a problem for you, there's still no guarantee that you're going to like the convenience foods that you can find. Vegan cheese just doesn't hold a candle to the real thing, and I think it's probably as simple as that. I've gone ahead and made peace with this. Yeah, this is something I talked about in the recent video I did about guava juices comparing vegan and non-vegan foods. And just talking about, we need to recognize that, yes, the industry has come a long way. There are a lot of really awesome plant-based options. But number one, again, they're pricey. And number two, there are a lot of things that we're still missing, like really, really good vegan cheese. Just like pretty much the consensus is that that doesn't exist yet. It doesn't matter how much I love cho cheese. It doesn't matter how much you love, I don't know, Daya or whatever else. Like most people think it's just not a substitute. And the same with it when it comes to a lot of the faux meats. A lot of people are just not okay with like the vegan hot dogs or sausages. And of course, we don't have anything for like a T-bone steak. And a lot of people are not okay with replacing that with seitan. It just doesn't work. The problem here is that going vegan essentially means going on a diet. And I mean that in terms of making dietary changes. I don't mean in terms of like calorie restriction or anything. Obviously, you don't have to restrict calories when you go vegan, but you do have to change what you eat. You have to make a conscious decision to change, and then you actually have to do it over and over again. You have to not eat certain foods and replace them with other foods. And dieting is hard. Changing our eating habits is really hard. We all know this. All of the evidence points to this being true. So I think we do such a disservice ultimately to veganism and really just to people when we say how easy it is to go vegan. I mean, number one, I think it looks really bad because the most vocal people who do this are the people with the largest audience, and the vegans with the largest audience, they tend to be on YouTube. They tend to be YouTubers. In other words, they tend to have a very different lifestyle from the average person. Like, I am at home most of the time. Yes, I am a stay-at-home mom, but so is my partner. So it's not like I'm here by myself and I have to do all these different things. Like, we're doing a lot of things together. I have a lot more free time than the average person. I have a partner who is vegan as well, so I have a lot of support. Like, I have a very different lifestyle from the average person. I think it looks really bad when, again, the most vocal people who are like, vegan is easy, they're so out of touch with the average person who has kids, has a family who is not vegan that they have to cook for. And then if they're going vegan, now they also have to make separate food for themselves if say their husband just won't eat it, or their wife or whatever. And maybe they also work. I mean, this is much, you can't tell me that it's just as easy to go vegan in that situation as it is for someone who just works for themselves, has no sort of like responsibilities, doesn't take care of anyone else, has enough money, like has a job just making videos and uploading them to YouTube. Come on. I'm not trying to imply that the only people who can go vegan are people who are YouTubers. Not at all. There are people in amazing situations who make it work. There are people with very little money who make it work. There are people who are very, very busy with very little money who make it work. It's awesome. It can definitely be done. I'm just saying we should be a little bit more sympathetic towards those who really, really struggle to make it work. And I think we should change our approach. As I've argued before, and lots of other people, including lots of vegans, have argued before, we should really be focusing on a gradual transition for people. It's very naive to expect that people are going to be able to go vegan just right away overnight. And it's very, I think, unfair to treat them as though, I've seen vegans tell people who are making changes, who are vegetarian, let's say they're still eating milk or something, and tell them like, why are you still drinking that? You should give it up, and just be so abrasive. Again, that's not something I see all the time. It's not something I see most of the time, but it is something that I still see. Things are so much easier if we can convince people to slow down. And that's easier said than done. Look, if you find out about veganism and you're just like, oh my God, like this is correct, I have to do this now. People can feel so compelled to just do it all at once, right? And then you kind of have relapses, and it can make it more difficult, honestly, because you're doing so much at once. Like, you're learning about it. You have to figure out how to eat, because again, it's not just making dietary changes. It's also like you have to learn a little bit about nutrition too. It is a lot to take on at once, but if you do it slowly, if you start by, I've talked about this a lot recently, there's so many different ways to do it, maybe starting with Meatless Monday, or if there are certain products that you don't really care for, certain animal products that you can just cut out, like maybe you really don't like cottage cheese, just no more cottage cheese, that's a way to do it. Or if there's a specific, like you just want to cut out dairy, or you want to cut out, I don't think many people would start with dairy because that includes cheese, and that seems to be the big one. I know that was the big one for me. So maybe, starting with like pork or something, I don't know. That's another way to do it. If you want to start with just, having vegan once a day, so maybe breakfast is always vegan. There's so many different ways to do it, but I think doing it that way, it allows you a lot more freedom. It's a lot less pressure, because now you just have, if you're just doing vegan for breakfast, it's just one meal a day. It's just one meal. And you can always if you're the type of person who just has the same breakfast every day, all you have to do is find one vegan meal that you like. And I think a lot of people already kind of have vegan for breakfast. How common is like the sausage with egg and bacon and like the toast and the glass of milk and the glass of orange juice and the cup of coffee, and the bowl of cereal. I don't know. Are many people doing that every day for breakfast? I don't think so. I think a lot of people are having like cereal or oatmeal or just toast and coffee, something like that. Point is, starting slowly in whatever way is doable for you gives you so much time to learn and to feel comfortable with the diet, really, with learning about veganism and how to do it. At least some of the problem with people giving up and like all of the ex-vegans is that they did kind of jump into it. And then when they learn about the little nutrients of concern, there's a great article from registered dietitian Jenny Messina that you should absolutely read. I'll link it in the description. When they learn about that after previously thinking that veganism is this like perfect diet and that it's supernatural, which it's not, and going into it kind of under false pretenses, again, and then just jumping into it, I think it can be like, wait, what? It can just be totally overwhelming, and it kind of feels like the rug's been pulled out from under you. I'm kind of getting on a different thing there and talking more about, we should be careful, letting people know up front, what a vegan diet is and how to prevent certain potential problems, right? Not just telling them that it's so natural and it's so easy, just eat beans and rice, because eventually they're going to find out that you can't just live on beans and rice, right? Eventually they're going to find out that there are potential problems if you don't do it correctly, and that supplements can be very, very useful. Anyway, point is, transitioning is really good. Going vegan is, I would say, hard for most people, especially if you're trying to do it very fast. If you are transitioning very slowly, it should not be at all. It should be very nice and easy. Again, I know easier said than done. If you're like raring to go. You just want to do this right now because you know it's the right thing to do, and that's awesome. That is so great. I know it can be hard when someone's telling you just have one vegan meal a day. It's like, what? And maybe you can do more than that. I mean, look, that I'm not saying like that's what you have to do. You know, you kind of need to be a good judge of your own abilities there, you know, and how much you know about veganism and how much willpower you have, honestly, how much time you have to, again, prepare meals. But as difficult as it is to go vegan, I think being vegan is not very difficult. Of course, there are always different situations. If you have family members who aren't supportive, that can make things really difficult. But I think for many of us, it just becomes something that you do. You know, being vegan for me is not hard. I've been doing it for years now, my partner as well. It's just something, it's just how we eat. Like, I think I normally say it's just like brushing your teeth. You just do it. It's like any change. It's like any new habit. Once it becomes a habit, it just becomes your new normal. And that's it. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I've included lots of references in the description in terms of vegan nutrition, stuff like that from dietitians. So check that out. If you want to subscribe, that's pretty awesome. And if you want to support the channel, that is also pretty awesome. Patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. Thank you again, and I will have a new video very, very soon. Ooh, I threw in another very fancy. Need to do some smart grocery shop. Fuck, I cannot say that. Grocery shopping.